From County College of Morris, this is CCM All Access.
Hello, and welcome to CCM All Access, the show that brings you news and information from the County College of Morris. Students at CCM, members of the community, people doing good things. I'm Daniil Barkov, and we are coming to you from the Media Center here at the CCM campus. My guest today is Mr. Rhett Mattson, who is a business administration major here at CCM. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, you're a very busy guy.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about like where you went to school and basically where you graduated, and then what kind of a career path you took after that?
Sure. So I grew up in Long Valley, about 20 minutes out of Randolph here. I went to Westmore Central High School. Enjoyed my stay there. It wasn't too bad. And then, yeah, as soon as I got out of high school, I left for basic training in October, so a few months later. Spent 6 months in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which was quite a trip. It was fun. Got back this past March a year ago, and from there I've been experimenting with a lot of different things. But yeah, Long Valley treated me well. I think it was a great town to grow up in. It was very small, very subtle, and just a nice place to grow up.
Okay, so so you joined basic training basically as soon as you graduated?
Yeah, I enlisted actually the end of my junior year.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, yeah. And then waited and left for basic training after my senior year. So I was waiting a bit, but had to finish high school, obviously.
Okay.
And yeah.
So can you tell us a little more about that? Like how long was basic training? Maybe what are some of the difficulties of it? And I know a lot of students usually think that they have to go, to college right after graduating. And I think there's definitely some benefits of like maybe joining the military or maybe developing a trade like you also have, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Sure.
But can you just tell us maybe some benefits of the choice you made?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously the societal norm, at least, you'd think most people want to go to college right away. And honestly, I don't think there should be such a big rush for that, because you think about it, there's so many other professions, there's so many other things you can do. There are trades, there are the military, and it can limit you a lot. So I knew that I wanted to be in the Army, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to be active duty. So I figured I would enlist reserves. I'd go to basic training for 6 months, which I did from October to March. And now that I'm back, I do my drill once a month for a weekend, and then I train for 3 weeks in the summer. I think it's a good balance because I still have a lot of time at home to go to school, to have a job, and do whatever I want, while still having military help me pay for school and give me other benefits as well. But yeah, when it comes to not going to college straight out of high school, it gives you some time to think, People want to jump into that big 4-year school and work towards a degree, but they might not even know who they are and what they want to do.
Yeah.
During basic training, there was a lot of days where, like a Sunday when we're not doing a lot of training, what you're doing is you're sitting in the barracks, making sure your stuff is clean. You have a lot of time to think. It's a good time to get to know yourself. And with that, you get to know what you want to do. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, when I get out, I want to be able to work with people. And I want to work with my hands. And, I just started thinking about some ideas of what I wanted to do. And as soon as I got out of basic training, I started working for Jeff Faulty Contracting, Roofing and Siding. And I was set up with an entry-level sales position. So with that part, I was working with people, which I learned to enjoy. I like communicating with people, customers, whatnot. So I did that. And then I also picked up doing carpentry. And that's just a lot of fun to me because I've always been artistic since I was younger. So I like making things, and yeah. So I've done a few different things since then, and with that, now I'm going to school as well. So, you should never limit yourself to one thing and put all your eggs in one basket. The more you spread everything out, the more you get to know yourself and know what you want to do. So.
Yeah. I think specifically being at basic training, I imagine you probably have some, not a lot of distractions as we do in the real world here, like phones, social media, stuff like that. And I think that's definitely a big part of, helping kids develop and, figure out what they want to do in the future.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I know like a lot of kids go for majors that they don't even think that they want to end up doing, and then they acquire so much debt, and then they're basically just kind of, in the hole for the rest of their lives. But schools like CCM, the military, that's definitely a good start to, developing skills and being able to pursue actually an effective career.
Sure.
So I know you have a little bit of like a story about the first time how you learned carpentry or how you got into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
All right, sure. So I must have been 16 at the time, maybe 17. My dad had just left for a short vacation. He went down to South Carolina or North Carolina, I forget. And I remember just using the bathroom downstairs, and I just thought, you know what? I don't like this bathroom at all. And I knew I enjoyed being artistic, all that fun stuff, and I wanted to challenge myself. I was like, you know what? I got 9 days. I'm going to try and redo this bathroom. Not a good idea. Really wasn't a good idea. And everything that could have went wrong went wrong. So not only was I just didn't know anything. I kind of bit off more than I could chew. But it was a learning experience, and they say the best way to learn is chaotically,
Not a lot of 16-year-olds, remodeling their bathrooms in their free time.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a why not kind of thing. And I ended up working on it, and it wasn't done by the time he got home. So I locked the door and I hid all the materials inside of it. I was like, oh yeah, nothing's going on. I was like, just stay upstairs for like 12 hours and then you can come down and I'll show you, It's funny. But there you go.
And so I understand you've also had some other jobs as well. Can you tell us maybe about that, like what your career path has been getting to this point right now?
Sure. So my first job ever was, I was an apprentice for a plumber when I was about, 14, 15. I just did that for a summer when I wasn't in school. My first real job was at the UPS store in Hackettstown. I applied there right after I turned 16. It was a decent job. I stuck around there for a little bit and then ended up moving to Black Oak Golf Club, which is right down the street from my high school, which was very convenient. I get out of school at around 2 o'clock, 2:35, whatever it was, go to work at 3, get out whenever at night, go home. So it was pretty convenient. And then after basic training is when I started at Jeff Faulty Roofing. Told you I was doing entry-level sales last year, and now this season I'm doing project management. So the jobs, while they're actually being conducted, I'm going out to the sites and managing crews while they're up on the roof, making sure the customer's happy, and yeah, so it's a little bit of a step up, but thankfully Jeff took me under his wing a bit and gave me this opportunity, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
So you, like you said, you are enjoying it. So is this something you can see yourself doing in the future, maybe pursuing as a career?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, it's another thing where you're working with people, and it's just, I do enjoy it, There's different types of people there's different types of managers. There's some people that are a little bit more authoritative, and they like to point their finger, and then there's people that like to learn, because sometimes the people in charge don't know as much as the people doing it. I think it's important to learn, watch them, and that's why I find it interesting, just learning as much as you can about whatever you're in charge of or doing. So I do enjoy it.
Okay, and you're also a student here at CCM, of course. Can you tell us maybe about like what your major is and what you're doing here at CCM?
Sure. So I'm a business administration major. My original plan was to go marketing at first, which would be the same core credits as business administration. So that was my original plan because I wanted to be a marketing manager when I got out of high school. That was kind of my plan. Go to college, try and be a marketing manager. So as of right now, I'm sticking with business administration, but I've thought about my love for carpentry and all that kind of stuff, so I could see myself opening a business in the future. I'm not sure. Like I said, just spreading out my options, trying to figure out what I like and what I can do. But as of right now, I'm working towards my associate's degree for business administration, and then from there, who knows?
Okay, well, taking business administration, it can help you with your business as well. So that's definitely a good move.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so can you tell about the reserves? I'm personally just a little bit interested about this.
Sure.
So you said you do 3 weeks in the summer, and then one weekend a month, right?
Yes.
So how does that work? Basically, do you go away to a camp somewhere?
Yeah.
Is it okay? And
so my unit is based out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. It's about probably 3 hours from here, 2.5 hours from where I live. And so I drive out there. Sometimes it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it's 4 days. Sometimes it's just 2 days. Sometimes it's 1. But completely depends. Usually we go out there to Fort Indiantown Gap, and we train out in the woods. So sometimes we'll be camping out, especially in the summer when it's warmer. Sometimes we'll be in barracks when it's colder or raining. Really depends, but we do a lot of fun stuff. My job specifically as a 12 Bravo combat engineer, you're working with a lot of explosives, you're working with barbed wire, because there's 3 main tasks for a combat engineer. It's mobility, counter mobility, and survivability. So you're trying to prevent the enemy from getting to you, you're trying to allow allies to get wherever they need to go, and surviving, so because it is a combative job. So there's a lot to it, but we do tackle a lot of the training on the weekends. And then during that 3 weeks in the summer, it's called an FTX, which is a field training exercise as well. We're on the field, we're driving all sorts of cool machinery, we're shooting a lot, we're really sharpening our skills, and we take advantage of that time really well. So it's definitely interesting, and I enjoy it, I really do.
So being a combat engineer, you also play a combat role as well, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And how long was, I think you said it was 6 months, the boot camp training, yes?
Yeah, basic training was 4 months, and then I stayed in Fort Leonard Wood for my advanced individual training afterwards to become a 12 Bravo specifically. And that was about a month or 2 months, yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us what was probably the most difficult thing you had to do during basic training?
The most difficult thing,
Or maybe the thing that had the most impact on you?
Okay.
Most memorable.
Those are 2 good questions. That's a good question. I would say the toughest was doing demolition, because there's lots of crazy equations and different knots you have to tie in to prime certain explosives for clearing the way.
This is already too much for me, priming explosives, that's crazy.
It's some of it's kind of crazy. And then impactful, I'd say before we graduated, we had to do I think it was 16-mile ruck march. And a ruck march is basically when you have a big backpack on your back and it's stuffed with like, I don't know, 60, 70 pounds sometimes at most. And you walk, you just keep walking, and it's tactical, so you have your weapon on you, you're in full kit, which means, vests and helmet and everything. And you just keep walking. So that took probably most of a day, quite a few hours, but at the end it's just so like, you feel great. Like as much as your body hurts and the next few days you just, you're sore and mentally and, in your heart it feels good. So that was probably impactful.
Okay, so from everything that you've told me so far, I can tell that you've been a very hardworking young man ever since you were even very young. And I know a lot of kids our age really aren't a lot of that way. Especially with a lot of the distractions and everything like that in society today, it's kind of more easy to just get gratification any way you can instead of working for it. So do you think it was definitely a benefit for you not going to college right away and then trying to figure out a career path?
Absolutely, because being 18 or 19, however old, and graduating high school, you really don't know who you are. And sometimes it takes some lows in your life, sometimes you just figure it out to really know who you are. And to commit to a 4-year school, to commit to something so wholeheartedly without really knowing who you are, I think that limits you and sets you back quite a bit. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it was good that I waited.
Okay, and again about the reserves, because I don't know a lot about this. How does it work? Do you do it for a certain amount of years or yes? How many years?
So I signed a 6-year contract in 2017. The way that works is I'll be going to my drills for 6 years, and then for 2 years I'm an inactive reserve. So that means I don't go to drill, but if, say, there was a draft, I would get called back before they started drafting people, so if there was a conflict or whatnot. So really, my contract ends in 2023, but theoretically 2025.
Okay, all right. And now we're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Not all County College of Morris students look like me.
Some look like me.
Or me.
Or me.
Or me.
We all come to CCM at different stages of life.
And for different reasons.
I plan to transfer to a university.
I'm training for a new career as a nurse.
But we all know one thing.
CCM is where we want to be.
So check out the website.
Check out the website.
Check out the website.
And let CCM connect learning and your life.
And we are back on CCM All Access. I'm Daniil Barkov, and we are here with Mr. Rhett Mattson, Business Administration Major at CCM. Hello.
Hello.
So basically, can you tell us a little bit more about, well, you have a lot of interest, you have a couple, you work here, you know, in Army Reserves and a student as well. Can you actually tell us maybe a little bit more about how you balance basically doing all of this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I still kind of ask myself that because I do feel I bite off more than I can chew sometimes. But I usually make it through. But it's really just time management and, you know, just setting goals and sacrificing sleep. That's literally, that's all it is. You got to have enough time for yourself to be able to relax sometimes. You just need that mental break. But there's a lot of long days that comes with it if you want to keep busy. You know, you work, you go to school, and you have homework to do. You know, you just got to do it and stay up late and try and manage the time so that you're not cramping it the night before.
Yeah.
And, you know, just simple stuff. That's something I'm still trying to figure out, though, managing my time. Could be better, could be improved.
Oh, well, see, this is bad for me because if you're saying that you're having trouble managing your time, then I still definitely have long way to go. So I'm actually curious about, with the Army Reserves, do you come from a military family or?
Further back, yeah. All my grandpas, I had 3 because there was a divorce. 2 served in the Navy and 1 served in the Army. And I mean, I guess that was definitely some of my influence, but I've really just been a big history buff my whole life. And for some reason, you know, people always said like, "Oh, you sure you want to join the Army?" And I was like, "Yeah, Army, period." Like, I was I didn't even look in other branches because I knew. I just wanted to join the Army. I loved what they've done in the past, and it's always interested me. So that's what led me to that.
So I'm a huge history buff myself too. Specifically military history, you know, World War I, World War II. You said yourself you really enjoy learning about them as well.
Yes.
So you, like you said, you really were convinced to join the Army. Can you tell me what kind of led to your decision of the Army? Or just wanting to join the Army so much?
Sure. I mean, it goes back a while. I mean, whether the amount of Sundays I spent with my father watching documentaries about World War II and stuff, or not even that, but just in general, just military-related things, and I always respected them. I always looked up to them. And, you know, at first I remember being in, like, middle school and thinking, like, oh, my God, like, I might think I'm going to join the military, but I'm not going to. Like, that's scary. But then, like, senior year came and stuff. I started looking in more. I started talking to recruiters. And it kind of just worked out. And at first, I didn't think it was going to work out because I was looking for a specific job to be a 12 Bravo combat engineer. And my recruiter's like, you know, there's not a lot of slots open for that. You know, I can try, but we'll see. So he's like, pick 3 other jobs. And I was looking at some of the other jobs, and I was like, you know what? Nothing really interests me. I was like, you know what? If I don't get the 12 Bravo job, I don't know if I'm going to join. So luckily, I did. And it was a very slim chance I did, but I did. So that's what led to that. But yeah, I've always just been interested in the military, and I was dressing up and playing Army in the backyard when I was little, you know, all that fun stuff. So my friends were too, and you know, it just was what it was, and it led to me joining, thankfully. So
You said your base camp is in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
How does do you have one, I don't know my, you know, divisions of, you know, battalions or stuff like that,
Sure.
but are you, the group of soldiers that you went to basic with, do you guys do the same rotation for reserves, or is it kind of switched up every once in a while?
Well, when you enlist, you get to choose whether you go active duty or you go reserves. So I obviously chose reserves. People who choose active duty usually have a 3-year contract. Mine's longer, but I'm reserve. So the people I went to basic training with are scattered throughout America and the whole world. Some of them are stationed in Texas, some in Georgia, some in the Carolinas, and some are deployed. Some are in Afghanistan, you know. So everyone's spread out. I'm really not with anyone I went to basic training with. This unit I joined after basic training is, you know, they're their own unit. It has nothing to do with basic training, really. I just got the training and then joined a unit. So.
But this unit, you guys are all basically together, and whenever you guys have, you know, like the weekends.
Yes, I'm with the same group.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's what I wanted to double check. Okay, and you said so for the engineering for the Army. Can you tell me more about what specific things you had to learn for that? You know, because you said you needed to go to a special school for to get, you know, more in-depth training after boot camp. So can you go into that a little bit?
So, yeah. So my AIT, Advanced Individual Training, is still based in Fort Leonard Wood. We had to do a lot of demolition stuff, which I mentioned before, which was challenging. Everything that specifies encounter mobility, mobility, and survivability. So we were doing a lot of infantry-based tasks and survivability, so a lot of different tactical things. We did a lot of shooting got to shoot a grenade launcher, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
But regarding my specific job, it was based around explosives, wire obstacles, so barbed wire, C-wire, all that fun stuff. And then, yeah, that's like the basis of my job right there. But anything that has to do with our guys getting through and the enemy's not getting to us, that's my job. So.
Okay, all right. And I also know you were in a band at some point. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I've been playing guitar since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I'll start with that. So I think it was Christmas or my birthday. I got a little blue acoustic guitar, stood about this tall, had like lightning bolts on it. It was beautiful. And I learned on that, and that was a lot of fun. And then my parents noticed I started, taking it seriously. So I picked it up a little notch, and I got a cheap little electric guitar. And then that thing I just shredded. I loved playing it. So I kept building my arsenal of guitars, learning, and 6th grade came around, and I met a few individuals that had the same music interest as me. We ended up performing, making a band and stuff, and it wasn't serious at first. But then 8th grade and early high school, it started getting interest. That's when my hair was halfway down my back, grew it out long. We all did. We were crazy for it. We were playing shows in cities around New Jersey. We were playing down in Trenton. We played New York City. Let's see, we traveled down to Maryland, up to Connecticut, so Pennsylvania a lot. We did a lot of different.
Wow,
it was fun. Yeah. It was fun, but it was weird. We were like 16 playing like bars with a bunch of 30-year-olds. They're like, what? But it was fun, and that was probably one of the funnest experiences of my life. But since then, I still play guitar very often. I picked up drums, not as seriously as I play guitar, but but I still try. That's one of my biggest hobbies. I try to do when I need a brain break. Play guitar. I attempt to sing sometimes when I play acoustic guitar. Working on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's fun.
Okay. So I mean, like I said, you have a very, very busy schedule. You do a lot. Can you tell us maybe some things that you've improved upon in the past couple years? With taking on all this responsibility. I know a lot of students have trouble basically, being responsible and kind of applying themselves.
Yeah.
And you seem like you have you have it together a lot more than I'd say the average student.
So responsibility-wise, I mean, I think you have to stress yourself out. You have to push yourself in a sense, whether it's mentally, physically, anything. And I think that's something the Army may have instilled in me. But you don't know your limit until you've reached it and you can't go anymore. So unless you've reached that, you really don't know how much you could do. At least that's my belief. So when it comes to my job now, having a bit of responsibility, it is stressful and trying to learn, the ins and outs of roofing. It is what it is, but it's a good experience, and I know that. So you just have to have a goal in mind, set a goal, do it, and full send. Just send it. You just got to do it. But yeah. So you just put yourself in a stressful situation and tell yourself you could do it, and I guarantee you can do it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I feel there's a Navy SEAL that I kind of was looking more about the military and stuff, and I think one of the things that like Navy SEALs say is basically like your body or something like that. You whenever you're tired, that's only like 30% of everything that you can do or something like that. And I think a lot of people our age don't really do is we kind of don't throw ourselves into the fire. We don't expose ourselves to like the hardships or just uncomfortable situations, even being confrontational with people sometimes.
Yeah, that's a big problem with us.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you like talking to people. I obviously like talking to people, so I think we're a little bit different in that respect. But I think it's something that's definitely kind of a problem with our generation.
100%.
I think in a way, So can you tell us maybe about some other hobbies that you have? I know you played hockey as well.
Yes, I played ice hockey in high school. As a matter of fact, I left the band summer of my sophomore year.
The breakup, yeah.
I know. It really is a breakup, I'll tell you. But so I figured, okay, I got to do something. I was working, but I always wanted to play hockey. So I figured I could convince my parents, and they couldn't say no if I went out and bought all the equipment myself. So I went out, spent $1 on all the equipment, and then I was like, well, I got to play hockey now. I have all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, true. So I did it junior year. Wasn't the best, I just had fun with it, and I really enjoyed it. Met a lot of great friends doing it. And that was a cool role as well because I was placed in a captain spot my senior year after playing for a year. It was kind of weird. I wasn't the best on the ice for sure, and but that teaches you a bit about leadership too. Yeah. So that was fun. Other hobbies though, told you musically, I love doing that stuff. I was into recording music for a little bit. that's a whole other art though. You know, there's playing the music and then recording it. That's two different things.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something I'd have to invest more time in to get good at. But aside of that, I still like to woodwork a lot. I love renovating. The place I'm living in right now, I renovated, and it's just a fun process. I love the before and after pictures. I love watching the process, you know, and working with my hands, having a task at hand. I love that. So I do a lot of that. I build some furniture here and there if I have time. You know, I keep busy purposely and just do what I can, you know, learn as much as I can.
Yeah. And you balance all this with school as well, which
Yes.
which in my opinion is pretty hectic. You know, I thought I had a crazy schedule. Yours is completely, you know, miles beyond mine. But how do you balance everything with school and doing? Is there ever any times where, you know, a little stressed out? Which, I mean, from what you said, I assume you are, but I think you thrive in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I definitely work good under stress and under pressure. So that's one of my things. So like I was hinting at before, my time management isn't perfect. I could definitely work on it. But with that, I am good at working under pressure. You know, whether it's someone looking over my shoulder and I know I got to do something quick or perfect or whatever it may be, or something's due soon, you know, due within the next 2 days and I have a lot of work to do, then I know I'm gonna bust it out those 2 days regardless. It's gonna be miserable, but I do work good under pressure. So that's just the way I work. But there's definitely better ways of going about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it depends. It really depends on what it is, whether it's fun or not to me, whether I'm truly interested in it, you know. So, yeah.
Okay. And you also said you're trying to learn the drums right now, or like
Well, I
bit?
do play drums. I'm
Okay.
just, I've been more serious with guitar for like, you know, most of my life. So I just picked up drums a few years ago. I got a kit from my friend. He gave it to me for free because he saw I was interested in it. So I fiddle around with it, but just not as seriously as guitar.
Okay.
So,
I really want to learn the drums because all of my friends play guitar, and then they're
Oh,
like,
yeah?
"Oh, we just need a drummer." So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be the one, you know, that's kind of come in there. So basically we have that as well. And can you maybe tell us? I know you said you want to go into, you know, maybe starting your own business, you know, the roofing company as well. Are there any maybe interests or maybe any type of activities, maybe career that you're thinking of possibly pursuing, just don't know yet or want to try out?
yeah, definitely carpentry. I mean, as I told you, you know, I took upon that job when I was, you know, 15 or 16, trying to redo that bathroom in 9 days. It was fun to me, you know. I just really enjoy being behind the saw and having all the potential in front of you to make whatever you want. Make something look beautiful if you want. That's why I love finished carpentry. I love moldings, all that fun stuff. So if I could do that for a living and make my own leads and have a business, that'd be great. I would love that. Whether I know if I'm going to do that or not, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
that's definitely one I would love to pursue one day.
Would you ever want to pursue a career in the military or anything like that?
I've definitely thought about it, you know. Thought about possibly after my degree going in as an officer and going active duty. My sister's actually in the process of doing that right now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and so, you know, I've definitely thought about it, and it's, you know, that's just another egg in a basket, something I can always fall back on if something doesn't go right.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being on.
Absolutely.
This has been another edition of CCM All Access. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.